Hey, with me today is Gregg Riley. Gregg is a good friend and a fellow Rippler. I'm so grateful, Gregg, that you joined me today. And like we're doing on these videos is I really just want to get other people's perspectives on the Ripple thoughts of the day that I've been putting out there. And so the one that I want to put it in front of you is, how much time do you waste arguing with your imaginary critics? What's your perception of that?
How much time I waste with arguing with myself?
Well, with your imaginary critics, it could be you, or it could be the stories that you think other people have, or maybe opinions they might have of something you're doing.
So I am my own worst critic, and so I do argue with myself quite a bit. And one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot lately is what I consider my I'll call it complaint list, which is a list of all the things that I complain about myself, like not disciplined all the time. Let's see, what else do I have on my list for today, Steve? So on my list for today, I have not enough time. I'm not disciplined. I'm not smart enough. I'm scared. Fear of failure. Fear of success. I have the squirrel syndrome. And
I know that.
And the last thing I put down was not worthy. And so, as I thought about those over the last couple of days, I started this exercise a couple of days ago. And one of the things that I add to that exercise is who's relying on me. And if I was to write a letter a year from now and I didn't get rid of these complaints, what would that letter look like to the people that rely on me? So what would the letter look like to my wife when I tell her a year from now that I haven't been disciplined enough to achieve the goals that I have set forth for myself? And it's a pretty powerful observation,
yeah,
to say the least.
So I'm curious, what motivated you to start doing this? Is the internal critic, the imaginary critic, been a prevalent issue for you, and you decided to bring it out into the light and start, kind of deconstructing it to figure out how to overcome it?
Yeah, I journal quite a bit, and but it's been, with my journaling, it's sometimes events that happen through the day, sometimes things that I'm grateful for, and it's always been positive in nature.
Yeah.
And then, but like last week, I started to self-reflect and say, okay, so I didn't journal today. Why didn't I journal today? Not enough time. But I work from home. I only have a few coaching clients, so I have plenty of time. So that's a complaint. And I said, okay, not enough time. That's a complaint. And what else? Oh, if I don't have enough time, I'm either lazy or not disciplined. So what does that look like? And I just started down this behavioral path of trying to figure everything out. And some observations that I have besides that letter is, how will the impact of this behavior be if I didn't, how do I want to word this? If I didn't have complaints.
Yeah.
So if I was disciplined, what would it look like to be executing and really self-disciplined? And I could get a lot more accomplished, I believe.
Yeah.
And and I don't care who you are, we're all guilty of sometimes in our lives where we just lack the discipline to get the things done that we need to get done.
Yeah. Well, I love this perspective. So if you step out of it from your personal perspective for a second and you put your coach's hat on, and by the way, for our audience, Gregg did not know that this was the tweet I was putting in front of him. So he didn't come prepared with this. It's kind of, just ironic that you kind of went through this exercise and this is the one I put in front of you. But, what suggestions would you offer a coaching client or maybe somebody out there that's like, that imaginary critic is really, sort of causing me conflict and really, creating challenges for me. So do you have some guidance or advice? Is this this particular exercise you went through something you'd recommend, or do you have something else?
I I think it's a good starting point. I'm learning it myself. With one of my coaching clients, I've been working with him on being intentional in his life, and it's all aspects of his life. Uh, I usually start every coaching conversation with wins, and so with Chris, I asked him what a win was. He said he took his 8-year-old son to his basketball game. I said, "That's awesome."
That's a great win. Yeah.
And I said, "But," I said, "So how did the game go?" And Chris said, "My son scored a basket, but I missed it." I
Oh.
mean, what do you mean you missed it? Well, I was looking down at my phone,
Oh.
and I said, so my next words back to him, where else have you been unintentional?
Hmm.
What relationships are you assuming and not fully focused on? And I just let it sit for about 4 or 5 minutes, and he felt pretty interested in what needed to happen next
Yeah.
in his life. He's like, "Oh, I gotta definitely pay more attention to my wife. I gotta do some more things around the house, and make sure that I'm actually doing what I need to do to be a good father and husband,
Wow.
as well as an employee."
I love that. That's really, really some solid advice that I think anyone that might watch this that is dealing with that critic, the imaginary critic out there, could really put to use. I mean, this is the purpose of these conversations is to keep them short and just get a outsider's perspective. I know what my motivation was when I put it out there because I deal with the imaginary critics all the time in my own work and what I do and what I'm putting out into the world. And so I love the fact that you came on today and had already gone through this exercise. I mean, completely unbeknownst to me, but I think that's pretty fantastic. And I appreciate the input and the feedback. And we'll have to have you back again on another Ripple Thought of the Day.
Absolutely. One of the things that I did it be kind of an epiphany this morning. I was watching Good Morning America, one of those shows, and they were talking about a guy who started out with a gratitude journal that he left at Starbucks. He left them across different Starbucks in his area, and all it said is, "What am I grateful for?" And people started writing their notes in there,
Mm-hmm.
and it's exploded for him. He's got these journals all over the country now, in Starbucks and wherever. But the point being is, I think if we spend time and focus on what we're grateful for, it might squelch some of our, inner, conversations that we have with ourselves.
Absolutely.
It'll boost us up. It'll boost us up.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. I appreciate that. Thanks for that feedback. And, I think it's a wonderful suggestion. So I appreciate it, Gregg. Thanks for being a part of this. This is an experiment that we're kind of trying just to kind of see, if we can get some additional perspectives and, different strategies and ideas around the Ripple Thought of the Day. So I appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for this conversation, my friend.
Absolutely.
And it's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Ripple on, my friend.
All right. You take care.
All right, you too.